This is episode 60 of the Artist to Artist podcast, and this is going to be the last one. I want you to know that I'm not ending the podcast because it was a failure or because I'm just going to give up on it. I'm ending it because I feel like I'm at a point where I really want to put my energy towards something that I think can really help makeup artists, and that is inside the Artist to Artist membership. And I have to be realistic about what's sustainable for my business. I also think it's really important to talk about why I'm making this decision, what I learned this year with Artist to Artist, but also through working as a freelance makeup artist for another year, and the reality of what it means to do this type of work without a huge social media following or a lot of brand support. So this episode is part year-end reflection, part business reality check, part explanation for why I'm changing how I show up in 2026. If you've been listening to this podcast and getting value from it, I want you to know that you will still be able to find value in a lot of the other content that I'm going to be sharing with you next year. And that content is going to be primarily inside the membership, but we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get through this podcast. Let's talk about this year. Over the last 2 years, and I have mentioned this on previous episode, I've talked very openly about this on social media. I lost, I would say, close to 80% of my bookings. This is not because I did anything wrong. It's not because I am terrible at my job. It's because businesses closed, production companies reduced their shooting schedules. A lot of my clients closed their business, stopped shooting entirely, or are just not shooting as often as they would like to or can afford. So I had to rebuild my makeup business once again from the ground up. This meant updating my portfolio, creating new content, being more aggressive about marketing myself, not just as an educator through Artist to Artist, but also as a working makeup artist who still needs to book jobs. It meant being very strategic about how I show up on social, how I position myself, because this experience has taught me, once again, I shouldn't say taught me, I should say it reminded me, relationships you think are stable can disappear overnight. The income that you think is reliable can dry up. And we are kind of at the mercy of the economy, even though it might not feel like it right away. And as freelancers, we're going to feel these shifts. When things aren't going well in our industry, eventually it's going to affect us. And this definitely is not the first time I've had to rebuild and kind of start over. I have pivoted and restructured my business many times over the last few years. When I left my agency, when I had to take time off for family emergencies, when things in the market have shifted. This is really just what a long career as a freelancer can look like. And you have to know how to rebuild and how to shift your business when needed. The makeup artists who can build sustainable careers are the ones who understand that this job is not just about being good at makeup. It's about building professional infrastructure, I would say. And it's the type of infrastructure that clients understand and expect from you as a pro. It's about confidence when things get a little crazy or unstable, and it's about knowing how to rebuild when you have to, and you will have to do this many times throughout your career. This is why I built Artist to Artist, because I have been through it. And I realized there was really nothing out there teaching artists the business side, the practical stuff that people do not teach you, the important stuff that you don't really hear about on social media. You have free content everywhere showing you techniques. You now have very expensive masterclasses teaching you how to create a specific look or work in a specific style. But there is this huge, I think, invisible gap, we'll call it, in between all of this, all of the professional infrastructure that clients expect. This is the stuff that nobody's really teaching or talking about. Your rates, how to talk about money, how to manage your time on set, how to rebuild when your work just disappears, how to position yourself as a pro. That's the gap that I am filling. I also have recorded a ton of podcast episodes. I've shared a lot of content. I showed up every single week in one form or another trying to help as many artists as possible. But I realized that to really help MUAs build sustainable careers, I need to go deeper than a podcast format. I need to have ongoing conversations with people, not one-way content. I need to see you through your actual challenges, not just answer questions kind of abstractly and give my opinion based on the little information that I know. So here is what is changing in 2026. I'm not doing any more public Q&As on Instagram, no more episodes of the podcast. I'm putting my mentorship energy where I can actually see people implement and grow, and that's going to be inside the Artist to Artist membership. This podcast has been a great way to reach a ton of people, but I don't think I can help you build a sustainable career through one-way content that you're listening to while you're driving to a job or you're cleaning your brushes or whatever it is. I know that real mentorship requires ongoing conversation. It requires bringing your actual problems to me and working through them together. And that's what happens inside the membership. And that's where I need to focus. The mentorship is not just lessons that you watch and you forget about. We do Q&As where you bring your actual business struggles or product problems or kit problems, whatever it is, and we work through them together. I am helping members build that professional infrastructure that I talked about earlier in the episode. These are the things that clients expect, but nobody's going to be teaching you either in your makeup school or in master classes or free content. Because you can watch 1,000 tutorials and still not know how to price yourself, how to handle a difficult client, how to structure your inquiry process, how to talk about your rates without apologizing, how to network when you have no connections, and how to rebuild when work slows down, or how to keep your business together when things get difficult. And that's what we are doing inside the membership. That's the mentorship part, and that's what I'm focusing on. And that's what I'm going to be building out in 2026. If you've been listening to this podcast and checking out my content on Instagram this whole time thinking like I should do this eventually, I'll join in the new year. I definitely am interested, but you've been putting it off. Now is the time to join, because that is where I'm going to be going forward. What I also wanted to talk about in this episode is something that came up in my last Instagram Q&A that was earlier on in December, because I think there is some confusion about my experience. I don't even know if confusion is the right word, but I'll just say confusion, and why I'm not doing master classes, in-person training, and all of that stuff. I had questions come up like what I would do differently if I was going to start over and move into the education space as a makeup artist. And I had a question about why don't I host master classes or in-person trainings. So first, and when I shared this answer, I definitely should have provided more context, but that's what this episode is for. So I've been working full-time as a makeup artist for about 15 years. I've been doing makeup on people for over 20 years. I'm in my 40s. And sometimes I don't think people realize the depth of experience that I actually have. Before the pandemic, I hosted, I think it was 5 master classes in total and different trainings. So I did 3 portfolio building workshops with one photographer where we focused working with newer makeup artists to help them build their books. And then I did 2 beauty focused, more general in-person master classes with another photographer. One was just a general class on how to do really good beauty and macro beauty. And one specifically was focused on working with deeper skin tones. And they were great. They were so fun to do. And I know a lot of people got value from them. But I think what people don't see, even back then, pre-pandemic, when it was way easier to fill up these classes, it was very hard to get people to sign up. Even with my reach and the photographer's reach, it was challenging. It required a lot of work. So now, fast forward through a pandemic, fast forward through an entire industry shift where so many artists have moved into education because their businesses are struggling. Fast forward to a landscape where you have influencer makeup artists, we'll call them, touring with massive social media followings, doing masterclasses with tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of followers. And then you have also add into this celebrity makeup artists with their own brands doing masterclasses. I have learned this in the eyes of less experienced artists. Those masterclasses have more value than something that I would host. Whether or not that's true doesn't matter. It's just a marketing problem. I don't have a humongous social media following. I am not really on TikTok. I don't have brand support. I can't get a brand to foot the bill for production and marketing and advertising of these things. I can't supply students with high value gift bags because I don't have those PR relationships any longer. And the reality is there is a certain level of expectation now. People expect the Instagram, worthy setup. They expect the swag bag. They expect that celebrity factor, and I cannot compete with that. And more importantly, I don't want to spend my energy trying to compete with that. The financial reality is the master classes that I did in the past required so much marketing, so much time, so much energy. And when it was all said and done, I could earn way more doing my actual job within client work with far less effort. So that was something for me that was kind of disappointing with each of the masterclasses that I did. I have explored this path thoroughly. I know what it takes. And at this point, after how many years of working, I have very limited bandwidth. I am restructuring my business as a makeup artist. I'm growing Artist to Artist, which is the education and training side. And I really need to prioritize what's going to give me the biggest return on my investment, both financially and in terms of the impact that I want to have on our industry. So for me at this point right now, masterclasses are not it. If you're listening, I don't want to deter you from doing masterclasses, because if you are in a spot in your career where you are excited to do masterclasses and in-person training and education, don't let what I am telling you deter you. If you're passionate about in-person education and you have the energy and resources to invest in it, mostly the energy, go for it. I am not trying to discourage anyone. I am just being honest about my current reality. I am balancing so many things that, putting my energy into a masterclass doesn't make sense for me at this point. The other thing that I'm doing in my business that I wanted to share with you is that I'm stepping back from taking on my own weddings next year. After 20 years of doing weddings, I need my weekends back. I need to show up mentally for myself, my family, people who are paying for my mentorship. I need to be able to focus on the aspects of my business that are moving me forward, not just keeping me busy. I am probably still going to assist on weddings, but I decided, which is going to be very weird for me, to not take on any weddings next year. So these are all strategic decisions that I'm making. I'm choosing where I want my time and energy to go. So this is something kind of new for me. I'm being a little more, I don't even want to say selfish, but I am very clear on my goals for 2026. And this is not something that I've been super clear on over the last couple of years. Also, to be honest, I find working with artists in the membership very fulfilling. I know my membership reaches more people. It's accessible to people wherever they are. You don't have to be in Toronto. You don't have to take a day off work. You don't have to pay $300, $500, $1,000 for a one-day workshop. You're going to get ongoing mentorship for a pretty low monthly cost. This is where I'm passionate. This is where I can have the impact that I actually want to have. And this is what I truly believe is a one-of-a-kind product that's helping working artists build sustainable careers. So if you were hoping I would announce some big, tour or in-person masterclass or something like that during this episode, that's not happening. What I'm building for myself, I think, is something that is more sustainable. So I do want to come back to what we're doing inside the membership, because I think there's still also a little bit of confusion about this. This isn't a course. I know I have done courses in the past. It is not just a library of tutorials that you watch and forget about. It's not just Instagram tips packed into a membership attached to a monthly fee. It's mentorship for the things that clients expect that nobody teaches you. And the great thing about this is I did not have a mentor when I was getting started, and it cost me so much time and energy. And as I'm rebuilding my business once again, I'm very in touch with what it feels like to start over, to be in the beginning stages of your career. This type of mentorship, I think it's important to have because it's going to save you time and money. So things like how to structure your inquiry process so you're not just fielding DMs of people texting you, what do you charge for makeup? How to talk about your rates confidently without apologizing for them. How to avoid undercutting yourself, other artists in your industry. How to handle clients who do not take you seriously. How to network when you have zero connections. How to rebuild when your work slows down or your market shifts or you go into a new area of the industry. How to manage your time on set so you're not the one that's slowing down the process. How to position yourself so you are seen as the professional, not just a hobbyist or, low-hanging fruit on set. This is all of the unseen stuff, the infrastructure stuff I have mentioned a couple times in this episode, the confidence piece, which is really important. It's the business skills that separate working artists from people who just love makeup and who are doing this as a hobby. And do we do this through lessons where I talk to you and you watch content? Yes, we do. But also we do Q&As. You can bring your questions, your issues. We can work through them together. And there's also a community of other artists in the membership who are building the same thing that you're building. And I'm also in the process of building as well. So this is all the stuff that I wish I had when I was starting out. This is what I needed when I was building my business from nothing. And this is what I'm focusing on in 2026. This is it, episode 60, the last episode of the Artist to Artist podcast. Thank you so much for listening, truly. Whether you have been here since the first episode or you just found this podcast recently, I know there are a lot of people that are new to the podcast and are probably going to be very disappointed. I appreciate you. I am really excited to move on to the next chapter in my career, in the next chapter of Artist to Artist. And I think if you are somebody that's listening, if you want the mentorship I've been giving glimpses of through this podcast or through my content on Instagram, but at a level where we can actually solve your business problems or challenges or whatever you want to call them together, then come and join me inside the membership because I would love to work with you. I will link you to the membership in the show notes. A big thank you again. I hope everybody has an amazing holiday season. And you know what? I love a new year. So I'm going to wish you all Happy New Year. I love a fresh start. I feel like the vibes are good at the beginning of the year. I hope I will see some of you inside the membership. I hope I get to chat with some of you in person inside the membership. So that's it for episode 60. Thanks again, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.